Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is Ship Updates. Now, we're gonna try to bang this video out in a reasonable amount of time. The reason why I'm saying it like that is because what's going on with the Xi'an Scout and the Sabre is clearly dominating the news. So, with that being said, we're gonna try to get through all the Xi'an Scout stuff and all the Sabre stuff real quick, and then we'll get on to the other ship updates. But at the same time, I do feel that there is a need to comment on some of the Xi'an Scout stuff, and certainly some of the Saber stuff. So we're gonna try to tackle all that first, and then we're gonna go from there. So with that being said, let's get started. Now, first things first, with the Xi'an Scout, we now have heard, we heard it at the beginning of the week in the 10 for the producer slash designer, that the Xi'an Scout was now a one-seater, which is a pretty big shift. And what had apparently happened is, I guess, a technical artist had taken a look at the Giann Scout, and because of the way the seats were arranged, as you can see in these pictures here, the way the seats were arranged, they had pretty much decided that it wasn't right to have one pilot trapped behind another. So for that reason alone, they had decided that it was going to be a one-seater. And I guess in this technical document, they had changed it to a one-seater, but they had not communicated that to the rest of the team. They just kind of gone in, made this change, put it in this technical document, and that was that. That same document, I guess, went forward, as you know, as Ben was explaining on Reverse Verse, went forward to the artists when they decided to put the Xi'an Scout into production, and the artists worked off of that technical document, I guess assuming that everyone already knew that the ship was now a one-seater, though that had really not been communicated, which, I mean, honestly, is something that I guess if the ship stats page were more regularly updated, and when someone made a change to the ship, if they made a change to the page too, or at least put a note out to have a change made on the page, might have caught that. But it slipped through the cracks. That's what happened. And so the Scout became a one-seater. Now, they also kind of reiterated that the ship will have, definitely an exploration use. So as far as, like, since we haven't really seen the exploration mechanics, we haven't really seen how much it would take for a pilot to manage that and manage, the combat systems of the ship. And obviously, at all times, both would not be needed, and you would probably either be in combat or be exploring and not be doing the same, or not be doing both at the same time. So I'm not really going to make a pronouncement on what I think of, removing that seat. Is it somewhat troubling that happened? Yes, but I think that that's more a case of CIG is now going to sit down and say, how do we stop this sort of thing from happening again? And since we don't know enough about the exploration mechanic, I don't really know if this is going to be like a huge impact on the ship or on the players who are flying it. So I'm going to hold off and I'm going to wait and see. But what I am going to talk about is the fact that, some of the videos that that have been out there so far, that people have shown the Xi'an Scout in hangar, it only has a single set of guns on it. Now, I'm going to assume that this is very much a situation like the Vanguard, where the Vanguard, when it originally came into the hangar, was kind of, it was kind of a rush job. It was using an older model. They kind of put it in the hangar. It's like, boom, there it is. But, the big Gatling gun was missing, and it said work in progress on the ship, And then in the very next update, all of a sudden we got this massively updated version of the Vanguard. And, it changed a lot of perspective. I mean, I was talking about the cockpit in the very first video. I was like, whoa, like, who designed this? This has to go, that has to go. And, of course, in the very next version, basically almost everything that I had said had been changed. So obviously, like, this was a much older model, and these were changes that they had already had in place. And I think it was more or less a case of, even though, like, we weren't communicating in any way, I think logically everyone was thinking the same thing. So I think that that's the case with the Xi'an Scout only having 2 guns in the hangar, is that this is just an early version of the model. This is not the final version, because realistically, for that ship to be where it is price point wise, which is kind of, even though you could argue against it, this is kind of one of the ways to kind of tier, if you will, the ships against one another. And I mean, if you're paying, $150 for the ship or whatever it will be in UEC in the universe, you expect certain things for that. And I'm gonna say that I would expect that this would have, going back to the December 12th 10 for the designers with Kirk Tomei and oh man, I keep forgetting his name, Randy Vasquez. Sorry, Randy Vasquez. Going back to that video when Kirk Tomei said it's going to have 2 size 3s for sure, and with the possibility of having 2 more size 2 gimbaled guns on it. I'm going to go ahead and assume that that is going to be the final version, and that this ship that we have in hangar now only has 2 of the guns implemented on it now. Because really, for a ship to be where it is price point wise, and which kind of puts it into a certain tier with other vessels, to be that size, it would simply just have to have 4 guns. I mean, with the option of either taking the 2 size 2 gimbals off and putting it to 4 size 3 fixed or 4 size 2 gimbaled. That would be a very logical armament to me. That's what would make sense. So that's my thinking on the kind of guns that are going to be on the Xi'an Scout. I would be shocked if that wasn't what was on the ship, and that in and of itself would easily make the subject matter for a future video if that was the case. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is just the first iteration and that the model has not been fully fleshed out, and since it's not flyable, we're not really in a position yet to make a pronouncement on that. But obviously going forward, that is a point of concern. So that really is the Xi'an Scout more or less in a nutshell for right now. Moving forward, obviously got to keep an eye on it and see where it looks like things are going. But I mean, there are some concerns, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see how things turn out on that front. Now, along those lines, we also have the Sabre, which is another recently released ship onto the PTU, which is getting rave reviews, and which is really, really nice to see, because after what had happened with the Vanguard, I mean, it was kind of worrying to see what was going to happen with the Sabre. But people are raving about it. They're saying how great it is, how fast it is, and the speed, I believe, from what I've been reading on the forums, because I have not gotten into the PTU yet because I don't have access, is about 260, 270 meters a second, if I'm correct. And Ben Lesnick was saying today on RTV that the maneuverability of the ship is actually going to go upwards. Now, he did also reiterate that the ship is a stealth fighter, but it is still very much considered a dogfighter. It is considered a combat vessel. And there is the possibility in the future that there may be a pure 100% stealth ship, but this is the Sabre is more or less intended to be something similar to the F-22, which is kind of a stealth fighter, low observability fighter, but also like air superiority, like that sort of idea. And so from what I've seen of the Sabre, I can't wait to fly it. I'm very excited about it, and obviously, I mean, if you've seen the interior of my hangar, then you know how excited about the Sabre I am. So good news on that front as far as the Sabre goes. Now, with the Sabre kind of being speed-wise pegged right around where the Xi'an Scout is going to be, and with the Xi'an Scout being so big, and with the armament question that I was talking about earlier, that does make a very good case for the Xi'an Scout being undergunned by accident in the hangar. It's kind of where I would kind of place those two ships together, because obviously the other way just doesn't make sense. So that's kind of one of the justifications for why I'm not overly concerned about the Xi'an Scout in terms of armament, because I just can't see these two kind of coexisting in the same space, and one being obviously so vulnerable to the other. So the Saber looking really, really good. I'm very excited about that. Now, next up, we have the Starfarer. Now, the Starfarer, we found out today, they are aiming for 2.3. One of the reasons they gave on Reverse the Verse for the delay was that they were adding a window in the UK, and that the UK keeps saying the ship is almost there and then taking it back and saying, no, 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 we want to add a little more. We want to, do a little this, do a little that with the ship. So that's been kind of the reason for the delay on the Starfarer, is they're tweaking it and they're fine tuning it. So, at least, they're really, putting a lot of effort into the ship. So hopefully, for those of you that own the Starfarer, what you get in your hangar when you get it will be very much worth the wait. Next up, we have the Caterpillar. Now, the Caterpillar has finished, or is very close to finishing. I believe the exact words were, they were wrapping up, or Gurmuk was wrapping up the concepting for the I guess the pods that fit within the larger framework of the ship, and the concepts for all the different pods that will be going into that part of the ship, which leads update. The Carrack. Once Gurmuk is done with the concepting of the components for the Caterpillar, he is going to begin reconcepting the interiors for the Carrack, much the same way that Randy Vasquez had done originally for the the Caterpillar. It's so many ship names to kind of keep in your head at one time. Got to expand my RAM. Anyways, he is going to be working on the interior and getting that ready for the Carrack. So for those of you that own the Carrack, or at least they're saying that it's very likely that that's what he's going to be doing, but either way, the Carrack is coming up next for its interior refactoring before, I guess, putting it into production, much the same way that the Caterpillar is. So for those of you that own the Carrack, the wheels are turning and things are moving. But unfortunately, with that comes some bad news. Now, with the Carrack moving forward, it has, because it has moved up, it has bumped another ship that was, I guess, more or less slated to go into that slot further back, and that ship, unfortunately, is the 890 jump. And I know it sounds like I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at owners of the 890 jump. I'm just, because it's a nervous laugh, because we know how that is going to go over. Obviously, if you fly the Herald, or if you own the Herald or ships like that, or the Xi'an Scout, certainly, you know what it's like to kind of think, oh, we're getting there, and to have it almost be there, and then just to have it get bumped back. There are many ship owners out there who have been through the same thing. We feel your pain, and hopefully, some point soon, you guys will get your ship moving again, or at least it will come to the point where it actually starts moving. Hopefully soon. Now, once again, speaking of ships that have been delayed many times, the poor Herald, sad Herald, is going to Austin to be completed now. That's what we found out today on Reverse the Verse, that the ship is being sent off to Austin, hopefully to be completed. Now, if you watched 10 for the producer / designer at the beginning of the week, you'll know that a question right towards the end, I think the second last question, was asked by some dude, I don't know, some nerd called Minion Soldier, who was asking specifically, if a ship system is, or if a ship is ready, but the system that the ship supports, i.e. like a salvage vessel or an electronic warfare vessel or a mining vessel, if that mechanic isn't ready, would the ship be more or less shelved indefinitely until that, that mechanic were in place? Now, the reason for that question was, that question basically is like a sword that cuts both ways, because if all of a sudden you hear the Herald is moving forward, then you know that electronic warfare, hacking, and stuff like that must be moving forward as well. Or if you were to hear that mining is moving forward or that salvage is moving forward, then that might also be a strong indicator that the Reclaimer or the Orion are moving forward. So I'm guessing that now that we're hearing that the Herald is going to Austin, that perhaps hacking and electronic warfare to a certain extent, those systems are now beginning to move to the forefront, and we might be seeing those in the PU sometime soon. So that's pretty much it for the direct ship updates, the actual factual information that came out of RTV this week. So that's pretty much it, except there was one little tidbit on RTV that did catch my ear, but it wasn't really clearly specified. So I'm going to kind of err on the side of caution here, but someone asked during the episode, when's there going to be the next ship sale? When's the next? And it wasn't really clear if they were saying concept or not. I might have to go back and look at that, because I could have sworn I heard the word concept almost, like I think I almost heard it drop, but I don't know if it was just, it's just one of those things where it's like, did I just hear that or didn't I? And now I feel like I got to go back and watch it again, but I still want to get this done for you guys. So I'm gonna err on the side of caution and say that there apparently is going to be some kind of ship sale at the end of March, and whether or not it is going to be a concept sale is unclear. So somewhat interesting, but I can't really think that it's a concept sale, because I can't think of any concept ship that would be close. I mean, unless they had been, no, because the new small mining and salvage vessel are just, it would be way too soon for that. And they earlier had reiterated the fact that the Polaris and the Drake Interceptor were still a ways off yet. So I'm gonna assume that this is just some kind of a ship sale, like the military ship sale or something like that. But I mean, the possibility of a concept sale, come to think of it, as I'm recording this now, there is a ship concept that it has been finished for a long time, but has never been sold, and that's the Xi'an Volker. Well, with that, I'll leave the episode off right here. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.